Hello, this is Paul with Reloading123. We are back. I'm back. Hey, I just wanted to tell you thank you. Thanks for those that are subscribing, that are making very, very kind comments. I really appreciate it. It's really those kind comments and those encouraging words that are keeping me going and doing these videos for you guys. Hey, you know what? We have, at this point, we really only have about 70 or 75 subscribers. We have something like 500 or 600 views. But you know what? I hope that we're making a difference. With several of you keep coming back. And that's really why I'm doing this. There's going to be no money made. YouTube is putting it to the people that are doing anything relating to guns. But I really wanted to do these videos because I want to make more reloaders out there. So let me, if you like these videos, subscribe. What I've learned with YouTube is that just by subscribing, you'll be able to see these videos under your subscriptions. But by clicking the little bell by the subscribe, you actually will see every update or every new video that comes out. So hit the bell if you want to see every one. Hit subscribe if you just don't want to have to try to find me every single time. And so without further ado, essentially in the last video, we finished the process of chamfering the inside and the outside of the mouth. We measured all the cases to make sure they were within spec. So we learned that we did not have to trim these brand new cases. And I'm going to show you a trim video in the future. Now we're going to go right into seating primers, and I'm going to show you that process on the press and off the press by hand priming. So let's take care of these 20 cases and get them primed and ready for powder. Alright guys, we are going to set the press up and actually do 10 of these on the press, and we're going to do 10 of them by hand. We're going to be using the CCI large rifle primer, and that's because that's exactly what the recipe calls for. And so we're going to put those in the primer tray. It's pretty easy when you're doing them in groups of 10 because these primers come in tins. So essentially, you can kind of do this any which way you want, but I will flip them over here. I could have just put them on the tray itself. This is going to flip them the correct way. Then we are going to flip this over. If you remember, this was all done in the pistol video, I think fairly close up. So the part, this side that has the bottom with the ridges, those ridges are then used to flip these primers over so you can actually see the inside of the cup. Then you use this lid and you flip them back in the lid. We're going to put on our safety glasses when we're using primers. We're going to make sure this primer tube has the proper stop in the bottom. You can see this little clip, and we are going to put them inside the tube. And of course you can't see that very well because my hand is in the way, but all you really do is you just push them inside the tube. It's a fairly easy process. And that's it. So now these primers are inside the tube. We're going to now put them in the machine. Okay, so it's pretty simple. I've changed the camera angle just a little bit. I've put this tube in the RCBS primer assembly. I pull the clip out so the primers then fall into place. You can actually then just put the brass in, and with the brass in the up position, of course you don't have a die in this particular situation. I've pulled this assembly back to grab a primer, and then I can push it up inside. And if it feels like it doesn't line up, do not force it. No need. Just kind of wiggle it, shake it, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come back and make sure that primer is seated just below the surface. And this is, in all honesty, what I just did is a hair below. I'm going to try to seat it a hair deeper. So basically, I'm going to put this piece back in without a primer in the pickup assembly, and I'm going to gently lower it down, kind of align everything, and give it a nice little upward press. And that should, believe it or not, just that little extra oomph seats everything just the way you want it. So I'm going to go through these and do the tint. And then, you know, the process of feeling is going to go by real fast for you because I get to do it when I put everything away. You know, and this part without the dye in the machine, it can be, you know, you definitely want to have your glasses on because obviously if the primer were to burst or something were to happen, it's going to be coming out the top, right? So this one feels a little strange, so I'm going to back it off. The primer didn't seat. I'm going to take a little bit of an inspection here. Sometimes things just don't go according to plan and they have to, there, so that time it aligns. So oftentimes you can just kind of jiggle the brass around and you can, you know, what I try to do is to speed the process up. There's like, you know, I don't know if you know anything about lean manufacturing, but I tend to adopt a little lean manufacturing technique. So the process of, you know, kind of raising and lowering the handle, I go quite quick. And then the process of actually seating the primer and the dangerous stuff, you know, per se, I go fairly slow. So you'll see that process of dropping the handle, raising the handle up, I go fairly fast. And then unfortunately what happens when you get down to the bottom of this primer feed tube, and again we only have, you know, 10 in there, is that it doesn't pick that primer up very well. So you kind of wiggle it and give it a little shimmy and a shake and they'll fall into place sometimes. There's no real danger in tapping this or doing anything like that. None at all. So you don't have to worry about that. It will not pick up. This goes pretty quick. And now getting the last one. Oh, look at that. Got lucky. And you want to seat those pretty firm, and you're going to quickly realize that this process doesn't give you a great feel, meaning when I'm pushing that primer up into the bottom of this case, it feels like I just have to give it kind of an oomph, and I have no real feel of the primer sliding in. I just kind of feel it go in and stop. And when you're hand priming, you're going to actually really feel these primers go in. I'm going to show you what that process looks like right now. Okay, I'm going to be using the Lee hand primer. I actually prefer the Lee hand primer over probably any other hand primer. This happens to be the old one. I have the new one. I'm resistant. I still like the old one. So until this becomes completely obsolete, then I'm going to use it. This is set up a little bit just like the primer tray that you saw before, where the bottom part here has the ridges. We can take the CCI 200 primers, or large rifle primer, out of the case, grab another 10, put them in the bottom of this, kind of like so. And the only real difference is that, as you can kind of envision, these are pushed up just in that exact position. So you don't necessarily have that extra step where you have to flip them over. So I got to put the lid on. Again, I've got my glasses on. You're going to hear me say that a lot, kind of around anything that explodes or kind of flick into your eye. And then this, it's going to, actually you saw it just kind of flop a second primer in there. But essentially what you're going to see is the primer. Hopefully you can kind of see that there in the bottom. We are going to, we got to cut, and the reason why it slid something into the bottom is because we don't have the proper shell holder. Let's get that. Okay, the Lee hand prime uses special shell holders, and they're essentially like a regular shell holder, except they don't have this bottom piece that locks in. You'll actually see that these shell holders are, I don't know, whatever you want to call that piece down there, they're just a simple disc. So, and the way this thing works is you actually have to look up the shell holder on the card that comes with it, and this so happens to, it's going to use the same shoulder as about any number of 30-06 and 270, 280 kind of dies. So we're looking this up to, and it's number 2. Look through here, find number 2. They're all stamped in the bottom, kind of down here. Once you grab the right holder, then you just put it inside this assembly, and it's pretty simple. You just kind of take a little bit of the pressure off this piece on top, this black part. It's all sprung in here, and then it's ready to go. So you just basically will put the case in there. You're going to use your thumb to push the brass in, and it's going to be fairly hard, but it's a very nice feel. And then if you have it positioned correctly, it's going to automatically put the next one right in the place, and you'll know where that's at. It'll very much have a positive stop. But you can see you get much more feel, and it's incredibly faster than using the press. These Lee hand priming tools are not expensive, and they really do speed this priming process for those of us that like to prime off the press, and I would encourage you to do it off the press for rifle loads, unlike pistol loads where I showed you how to do it on the press. That one felt a little tight when it was going in, so I kind of questioned it. And it was still a little bit tight, and you saw me turn this case, and that just kind of wiggles it in so that primer lip can get into that little pocket there. So that's pretty much it. That was the 10. That went a whole lot faster. So that is the priming both on and off the press. Pretty simple stuff using the Lee hand primer and RCBS rock chucker to do it. Of course, what you saw with the rock chucker, you can actually do that in the same process as the resizing, but I really don't like to do that because I like to get the lube off, clean it, check the flash hole, then prime on a separate step. Most reloaders will do it just the way I showed you. So this is Paul, Reloading123. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know. I really appreciate them. I'm going to be coming back to you with powder, and the next video is going to be bullet seating and crimping, and then we're going to be done with rifle, and then on to more fun little projects. Thanks for chiming in. Appreciate your time, you guys. Take care.